Hello, party people. My name is Clarence Napier, the insurance broker, licensed in 12 states, which include Washington State, California, Texas, South Carolina, Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Virginia, Maryland, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. Today is July 23rd, 2025. It's about 6:30 p.m. on the East Coast, broadcasting from the state of Georgia. And this episode is about effort and task. Now, I did several podcast episodes about this subject over the years. Probably the last time I did it was 5 years ago, but now it's time to do it again. So I need to distinguish what's an effort activity and what's a task activity. And the reason why I'm doing it is because most people focus on task activities. And the reason why, that's what you went to school for. That's what you passed the bar with, understanding the tax of law. That's why you worked at a big accounting firm if you're a CPA, to learn about CPA and accounting and some tax issues regarding being a CPA. Same thing for dentists. You went to dental school to learn about the dental techniques and procedures. And same thing for medicine people. Same thing for floor tilers, plumbers, electricians. You are good at the task. So how does effort play into this formula in terms of how to find new clients? And that's what we're really talking about, how to find new clients. Well, the effort part is the time or the energy that you spend finding new clients. And I'll just break down the distribution between efforts and tasks among several white collar and blue collar industries. Let's first start with the attorneys. The attorneys, in terms of distribution, will spend about 80 to 90% of their time on the task. Because when you're working in the legal profession, you have to make sure you get it right. You have to make sure that you're representing your client correctly. You have to know the laws and the legal precedents and all those kind of things. So you're going to spend the majority of your time making sure you get things right for your client. And the 10%, which is what people have left or attorneys have left, that's what you would spend on marketing activities, things like finding new clients. But only having 10 to 20% of that time makes it difficult. But it can be done if you do it the 3-2-1 biz development way. So what happens when an attorney runs out of clients? Let's say you get that big $100,000 check that you've been working on for the last 6 months, and you have no other business that you have to work on. Well, that's the time that you can start finding new customers, new clients. But even if you have a client that you're working with as a legal professional, you still have 10 to 20% of that time that you can find new clients. And what I recommend for attorneys is to first take the 3-2-1 biz development 6 to 9 hour course, so you can learn how to contact, prospect, appointment set, close, and get zero cost referrals. And the reason why I know about the attorneys really well, because I had a good friend whose son got into a DUI situation that was a little bit more nastier than the DUI. It involved some manslaughter. And I knew an attorney from 5 years before, and I regularly see this attorney out and about. And so I referred this attorney to my friend. And then 6 months later, I had another situation where I ran into another situation where I referred this attorney to another friend. So this attorney did not have to work at all for these two new clients. Now, I'm not sure exactly what he made, but I think it was probably somewhere around $50,000 from efforts that I did. So what this attorney started doing in California, he started taking my advice, which is when you're out and about, just make friends with people. Pass out your business card. Get their email address and name and put them on your newsletter. Whatever newsletter you might send out on a certain topic, send it to these people. Accumulate about maybe 300 or 400 people that you've met in maybe a 2-month period of time. Don't be shy about this. This is the effort activity. You see someone, you say, hey, my name is Attorney Bob. I'm this type of attorney, estate planning, defense attorney, business attorney, business law attorney. Here's my card. Can I add you to my newsletter? What's difficult about that? And then 2 months later, if that person you gave your card to does not need your services, maybe he or she knows somebody else that needs the legal service. So that's the attorney. Let's skip to the industry that really, really needs our help. Real estate. Now, I was a realtor in California, getting ready to get back into the business here in Georgia within a couple of months. But when I was a realtor, I never had weeks where I had no client, no buyer or seller. And what I used to do, since I was also an insurance agent at that same time, what I would do is I'd meet people about insurance. And when I was out and about, I would also pass out my real estate card. I would tell people, yeah, I'm a realtor, I'm an insurance agent. And because I introduced myself like that, people would ask me, well, what are the current rates? What are homes selling for? Now, the point I'm trying to make is you can't be a realtor or a broker and not tell anybody. There's too much money that you can make. In California, it was no big deal to sell a house or to help someone buy a house. Even if you were not the broker, you're just a realtor, you could put $12,000 to $15,000 in commissions in your pocket. Who would not be excited to make $12,000 to $15,000 like twice a month? You see, that's the effort part. So for real estate, the distribution of time is flip-flopped. Realtors only spend 20 to 30% of the time actually working the deal. Now, don't get me wrong. I know that there's some people out there that said realtors don't work. That's a lie. Realtors do work. There's so much that goes on, when you're working a real estate transaction. It's not just, the person signs a form and you wait to get paid. Hell no. There's much more work. I remember being up like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, checking things, getting ready to go out to the house to wait on people to show up to do their things like the appraisers and the inspectors. And that's because the buyers or the buyer wasn't available. So I'd be sitting in my car, the appraiser would be late, the inspector would be late. And so I'm sitting there thinking I'm just going to be there for 90 minutes. Sometimes it's 3 hours, or it's waiting on someone else to do their part, like the loan people to do their part, the lender to do their part, the title company to do their part. And that assumes that there are no problems. So the realtors, about 30% of the time is spent on the task. That leaves 70% of the time for the effort. And that's, put a magnet on your car. Say hello to people. Don't be afraid to tell people what you do for a living. And that goes for all industries. So in all the other industries like accounting, CPAs, dentistry, that's another high task industry and a low effort potential industry. There are things that you can do. I recall I was in Sacramento about 4 or 5 years ago, and I was in line at a boutique kind of coffee shop, not a Starbucks, but a sort of like a mom and pop Starbucks. A mom and pop coffee shop. And I'm in line, and I talk to everybody when I'm out and about. I don't care where I am, if there's a crowd of people and I'm in line, or if I'm sitting next to someone, I'm going to start a conversation. And I got that from my own 321 Biz Development Program. So I'm in line and I start this conversation with this guy. Come to find out, he's a dentist. And I'm thinking in my head, why didn't he introduce himself to me? Not only could I have used his dental service, I could know other people that need his dental services and be new patients at the dental practice. And I'll just tell you this, a lot of dentists, what they do, and I'm talking about the independently owned dentists. Now I know in the dentist industry, a lot of corporations are buying up practices and they're slapping like one of the top names on these practices. And the dentists are no longer, business owners, they are employees. So I'm really talking about the independent dental practices. Do you know that the majority of dentists, I almost want to say all, they wait for someone else to pick them from a book? Imagine you are a dentist in Houston and you say, well, I'm not going to rely on any marketing plan that I could think about. I'm just going to wait for one of the employees at some of these companies in Houston to pick me from the dental provider directory. Imagine that. You're trying to make $600,000, $700,000 a year, but you're waiting on someone to pick you from a dental provider book, or pick your name from a digital provider list online. If there are 400 dentists in Houston, what is the probability that you will get enough new patients to make your practice go boom? You see, so the dentists have like an 80%, 90% task distribution percentage and like a 10 to 20% effort percentage. But that 10 to 20% can yield a lot of new patients. And 321 Biz Development has that plan. Why aren't the dentists reaching out to companies? I got a story I could tell you about that, but I'll save it for one of my dental clients. Why isn't the dentist saying, look, here's a company that has 40 employees. Here's one that has 20. Why can't I go to that employer and say, employer, let me handle the dental needs for your company, and throw some type of benefit or feature that entices them, the majority of the employees, to be your patients at your dental practice? Why not? What harm could happen? What could be the bad thing if you just ask an employer to let you talk to their employees so that the majority of the employees can be your dental clients? Man, let me stop. Anyway, Clarence Napier, 866-901-9876. Also, we have an online networking session every Mondays and Tuesdays and Wednesdays, 7:30 Eastern, 7:30 Pacific, twice a day on Monday, twice a day on Wednesday. If you want to get in touch with me about the online networking, you can give me a call, 866-901-9876, or send me an email at clarence@insforsure.com. And I apologize, I got a little allergy with all this rain and heat changing up every day here in Georgia. But take care and have a fantastic week. Bye-bye.